It's Friday, Feedback Friday, the feedbackiest day of the week. It's Feedback Friday. I have survived this week. It's been a rough one. I'm going to address, as you see from the title of the video, yet another lie about me. And this one, I think this might be one person lying about me that, another person who doesn't like me decided to bring to my channel. And I considered just ignoring this, but in respect to the people who have supported me and have stuck with me through all this bullshit, and the fucking shit continues. How bad's the shit? A possum. Scream it own ass bad, right? Like, Morty, you gotta work on your... Morty's a little zeftig. He has trouble screaming at his own ass, but that bad. But this one just chafes, because this lie comes from somebody who I broke off with because they lied. And they then went and lied again to try to get money for their own reasons. We'll get into this. I'll do the help support this channel, ironically, and then we'll get into the lie. And I actually have evidence, because this deals with Canadian immigration law. Okay, so help support this channel. Become a monthly patron, patreon.com/LeannaK, or buy a one-time Leanna Care session for someone who can use it but can't afford it. Coffee.com/LeannaK. Okay, so this is going back to the shit song that's been spreading about me. And I didn't talk about it because I didn't want to draw attention to it, because it involved her trying to get money. And I understand she's fine. I understand she's landed on her feet. But she was trying to sell the story that as the comments said, they timestamped a mark on Wednesday's video. That's a weird way to frame you offering and then rescinding your offer to house a domestic abuse victim because she made you mad. That is essentially what song peddled. It's not true. What really happened is that, domestic abuse makes it sound like she's being beaten by a boyfriend, or wasn't that? It was... Her mother seems kind of controlling, or very controlling. I don't know, right? Like, I never witnessed anything directly. It was all through her. I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt that it's true. But it was escalating, and she was talking about moving in with her boyfriend. And then her mother said she had to be out by March. March, right? Boyfriend couldn't take her till around May the earliest. Okay, the earliest. This is important. March, May. In October, Song asked me if she can move up the date until December. Now, in order to have her here, and it was always made clear that this was an absolute last resort, right? Because it's crossing an international border. She's in the US, I'm in Canada. So there are rules, and I don't know how many of you follow Canadian news, but our immigration laws have been getting increasingly strict, in part because of people going both ways illegally, coming into Canada from another point of origin and then getting into the US and then staying there illegally, and vice versa. We have people coming in and declaring some sort of refugee status, and because of the safe third party agreement, meaning the U.S., you must declare a refugee claim in the first safe country you arrive in. So if you go to the US, you have to declare refugee status in the US. You can't go to the US, jump to Canada, and then declare refugee status because you think it's easier. Okay? And so I'm crossing the border because of domestic violence or because my mom is mean to me. That's not going to grant you the right to stay in the country indefinitely. Okay? But it would also require me to, because the only place we can put her, I work days, my husband works nights. The only place we can put her, it was a back room that would require a door and a window put in for it to be something that isn't going to wake her up in the middle of the night. Right. So that was cost. We were prepared to do this, but March, right? And you notice I didn't bring this up in the original thing because I thought it was nobody's business, but she made it people's business. Okay. When it became December, I reminded her, and she quoted this in the video, that this was an emergency last ditch break glass thing. Song claimed it was. However, in the conversation I had with her, it was, why aren't you having this conversation with your boyfriend? Why am I having to move up the timeline? Because I'm in a foreign country. Why? Well, she said she just wanted a couple of months to get herself together before they were going to begin their life together. So she was asking me to extend her vacation period. Okay. The vacation was not the deal. The deal was always there was a firm date from the boyfriend that they were going to move in together. Guaranteed. Never got it. Never got May-ish. No guarantees whatsoever. And she had to get a job that she could work remotely. She did not have one. So, yes, I understand that she painted it like I took back the offer to a domestic abuse victim because I made her, she'd be mad. She just has a temper. No, there was always a deal. She didn't go get the job and there was no date. It was never gonna happen until that was done. And when I said, why are you having this conversation with me? Why aren't you having this conversation with your boyfriend? Because, I understand. And then she didn't talk to me for a week. And she told me she was just figuring out her feelings for a week. And she was weird with me ever since then. It really felt like she was mad at me because I said no. And it's my house. I'm allowed to set boundaries on what the conditions are for her to come and live in my house. And no, I cannot take a person without a means of income. And I certainly cannot take a person without a means of income for that long. It is against the law. Okay? The maximum you can stay in Canada. I pulled this out because people don't believe me. Like, this is a juicy lie. So people want to believe it. But it's provably false. And I shouldn't have to do this. People should stop fucking lying. But here we go. Here's evidence. Okay? Here we go. Most visitors can stay up to 6 months in Canada. However, it is not guaranteed. The Border Services officer may allow you to stay for less or more than 6 months, but there's no guarantees. 6 months is usually the thing. Look how close it was being cut. December, God knows what part of December, right? She was just inviting herself at the December, not March, where her mom was kicking her out. No, she just didn't want to live with her mom anymore. Okay? It was not she was going to be on the street. It's just an unpleasant situation. Domestic violence shelters exist for a reason if it's that bad. But again, I did not rescind the offer. She did not meet the conditions of the offer. But here's why the offer wasn't what it is. Okay. December to January, January to February, February to March, March to April, April to May. That is less than a month until they kick her out or I get in trouble for harboring somebody who's in the country illegally, right? Too close. Furthermore, because again, if somebody says, May, that's not a commitment. May 1st, May 15th, that's somebody who's like, yes, we are agreeing to this date. And even then, it ends up being, if it's a rental property, it's first of the month anyway. We've already pushed it 2 more weeks. It's getting way too close to breaking the law territory. And I'm not willing to break the law, okay? But also reasons you may be inadmissible, okay? Financial reasons. If you're unable or unwilling to support yourself and your family members. This is a big thing that gets people turned away at the border. If you show up and your story seems sketch, that you show up with no money and no job, and you're planning to stay for 5 months, and you don't have the money in your accounts, they can check. You don't have the money to live for even a couple of months. They think you're coming to work illegally in Canada. And so they don't admit you because the story is sus. And so even if I could afford to pay for another adult with no job and pay to ship her stuff here and then ship her stuff down, the government may not buy that that's the case. That is the story that people tell to get here and then work under the table. And with her employment history, very, very likely candidate, okay? Not getting into that, but just saying there are reasons beyond me being an asshole for this. And this stuff has gotta stop. This idea that I've been a public person since I started working in TV when I was 19 years old. I went on camera 7 years later, so I was 26, okay? I've been a pretty open book since then. My address has been doxxed. Private conversations have been dumped online, including by Song. She very selectively edited that conversation. But even though she showed the screen grabs out of order that the actual conversation was, I have the right to say, no, I can't afford to have you, to be paying for you that long. Because it's not like she lives cheap, right? So, that's a fancy clothes and makeup and mascara and, feminine hygiene products and all that stuff for an additional person would have been on me because she can't work in Canada. So if the money didn't come in with her and she didn't have a remote job, I'd be on the hook. I never told her I was prepared for that. And so when she said she was just planning a vacation to get her head together, no, that wasn't the deal. It wasn't the deal. And she hadn't even fulfilled the conditions of the original deal. But the fact that people believe this shit and then bring it to my channel and confront me with it, this is ridiculous. This is vindictive. This feels vengeful. And it might not be. It might just be pure grift. because she managed to figure it out, even though she didn't get the $1,000 she was trying to raise by throwing me under the bus. And this idea that I am more responsible for taking her in than her boyfriend, who they plan to live together anyway, that's red flag 1. The idea that I was supposed to risk violating immigration law, that's red flag 2. But the idea that it was just that I was angry and not saying no, because if I caved, and even if I had the money, I don't, right? But even if I had the money to support another person for at least 5 months, if she shows up at the border and immigration doesn't believe her story, and you saw it, very good chance they wouldn't, because she got no money and planning to stay here and you need a return date. You need a return date. That's why I asked for that. They're like, how long are you staying? So if she doesn't have the money to cover it, they may not let her in. And then what does she do? That would be awful for me, to put her in a position where she may have nothing, right? All her stuff would have been shipped and she has no place to go. That's not right. That's not cool. That's not what a friend does, And that was before I caught her lying. I wasn't angry at her when we had that conversation. The fact that she got weird with me and kept picking fights because she seemed pissed, didn't talk to me for a week. And then she came in and picked another fight and then didn't talk to me for a bunch of days after that. She was angry at me. And it was in that she let it slip that she lied. Because her lie caught up to her and, well, I don't even know what the truth was there, but she got caught lying. But that happened after I said no there. The timeline doesn't even fit. But I wasn't angry when I said no there. I was powerless. I could not agree to put her in a position where she might be turned away at the border and be homeless. That's why from the very beginning, I asked for those 2 things, to be compliant with immigration law. The idea that I'm somehow turning away a victim of domestic violence because I don't want to get in trouble with immigration, that's possibly the most ridiculous lie that's been told about me lately. And there have been some whoppers, but all of them seem to revolve around my anger, my temper, right? And does somebody with a bad temper offer at all to have somebody come stay with them if they're trying to hide it? That doesn't make a lot of sense, right? I stream every week on Twitch and people take cracks at me. And yeah, I kind of go, come in, want to go, but I'm laughing, right? I do these videos all the time. And yeah, I play things up. Like, I'm introverted, so I have to push, right? And one of the things that happens is when I get nervous, I get louder, theater training, right? Like, speak to the back of the room. But apparently it's also a neurodivergent thing that you don't necessarily know how loud you are. I don't know. But it's always angry, because I put my foot down sometimes. And people portray that as a rageaholic. But the amount of shit that I have just sat on and said nothing until the other person made it public. That is not consistent with someone with an anger issue. Now, there's another component to this, okay? Because people who have PTSD, I happen to have CPTSD. It's not one thing, it's a bunch of things. Triggered events, right? Episodes. And I know some people don't like the word triggered. I don't like the word triggered, right? Because people misuse it. But real triggers, okay? They are nervous system events. I talked about this on Wednesday. A person who is having PTSD symptoms and therefore is terrified may seem angry because the freeze, fight, fawn, or flight response is triggered. And the people who are spreading this bullshit have heard me say they know I happen to have a fight response. That's not anger. That's fear. It looks like aggression, but it's not rage. And that matters. And when I said that, I was accused of hiding behind my disability. When I'm angry, I'll say I'm angry. I've come here and said, yeah, I'm pissed off, right? But you'll notice that I'll occasionally tell somebody to go fuck themselves. I'll occasionally call somebody a little shit. I'll occasionally go, but fuck it, right? I rarely engage in name calling. Every so often it slips and it's like fucking stupid or something like that, right? I try not to do it, but it does slip sometimes. But I do not engage in these extended assaults on character that these other people who seem to be communicating with each other to create this false narrative about me do, right? I don't wish Song any harm. I'd like her to leave me alone and keep my name out of her mouth. I don't wish the gruesome twosome long. And I don't do the cutesy names because I like it. I do it because if ever I say their name, they start screaming defamation, even though I'm telling the truth. Does that mean I get every detail right? No, because memory, but I'm telling the truth as I understand it, right? And that doesn't mean alternative facts. That just means that sometimes dates get confused and everything like that, especially when you've been trauma triggered, which they're deliberately doing. They know my triggers. They're stomping on them, right? And then, of course, Stalker Chan, I say because she is trying to get me to say her name. That is her whole deal. She wants attention. And the fact that Song borrowed that tactic, why do I say Song? Because everybody fucking knows that one, right? There's absolutely no way to hide it. And that's not her real name. That's not her real legal name. So, that's one that it feels too far. It would not be clear because it would be she. People would think I'm talking about the stalker, and I'm not in this case, right? It would be too confusing. So I'm going against my better judgment and actually naming names on this one. And I don't like it because then people can say it's defamatory. This theory of the case doesn't factor in Canadian immigration law. Stop lying is not defamatory, but people just scream defamation and say I'm angry. And I ask you this, okay? Anybody in my situation who has at least 5 people right now vindictively lying about me, 2 of them can't even get their story straight whether one blocked me or not. Another is telling this tale of woe that I am more responsible in another country for her well-being than her boyfriend in just another state. Somehow I'm financially responsible for Song W. Erickson now. Like, what the fuck? This is just vindictive. This is just malicious. Anyone would be angry. The fact that it has become about my anger instead of their behavior is wrong. Essentially they're claiming I have explosive personality disorder. I don't. And trust me, I've been through so many fucking doctors that if there was a personality disorder diagnosis, they would have found it. Okay? They diagnosed me with PTSD. The PTSD treatments worked. And this idea that if a woman gets angry, she's crazy. Or if someone gets angry, they have an anger problem. That's just... It's manipulative. It's wrong. And it shifts the focus from their behavior, which is awful, to my reaction. I would be lying if I said I wasn't angry about this. And I'm angry because I have to come on here and do something I don't like doing, right? I don't like making videos like this. I don't like dealing with... This isn't even drama. This is just fucking... Call it what you want, okay? But I'm tired of being lied about. And I'm tired of being made into a villain where it's easy because there's a couple of instances, and it isn't that often. I mean, I went into therapy, it was like 2012, 2013. And the last time I saw the gruesome twosome, it was, I came back and my stepfather died. And the only conversations have been remote since then. Stalker Chan hasn't seen me in well over a decade. And when someone lies to you for 16 months, yeah, you get angry. But if she had proof of me calling her a bunch of names, she would have used it. The other two have dumped screen grabs from me. No evidence of me saying anything more than bullshit and enough of this loop-de-loop worldview. There's really no evidence of me having a rage problem. Them, on the other hand, are so incensed that they keep coming at me and doing things like violating customer privacy, going in and deleting all the files on my personal website and breaking the MX DNS entry on my email in a fit of rage because some Kiwi farmer linked them to some out of context screen grabs from months ago. But I have an anger problem. They have multiple alt accounts that they chose to yell about me. And when that didn't bait me into a response, they yelled at me. It started, I've never exploded and I'm not exploding now. 12 posts later. That's an explosion, sir. And that was like after midnight my time. They're in a different time zone, but it was still late at night, But I have the anger problem. Stalker Chan's been stalking me for over a decade. I have had nothing to do with that woman, and all of my exchanges with her were pre-trauma therapy, because it was her and me going to the police that finally got me connected with victim services, that got me into trauma therapy. So anything that happened before that, a rational person would go, okay, Grace. But this is somebody who throws chairs and abuses animals and, cuts herself when she's angry. So she did it to get back at somebody and then faked that it was an assault. But I'm the one who's angry. This is the world where people can just say shit. And if they say it emphatically enough, some people will believe them. And all you can do is tell your side and hope people believe you because, immigration law is pretty compelling, isn't it? But some people aren't. And it's all perfectly legal. And then people say, why don't you sue? Why don't you call the police? Well, 3 of the people are U.S. citizens. So that's just way out. They're allowed to lie, right? Unless I suffer financial harm, that I can prove is directly related to what they're saying and prove it's malicious. I mean, the fact that Song said it to get people to give her money, that's pretty malicious because I'm not throwing her out, her mom is. How is that my fault? Didn't have to bring my name into it at all. It was just a sob story that sounded good, I guess. It was somebody to blame whose name people knew. And I really think that part of this attention seeking is they're expecting me to blow my stack and it'll call attention to them. Do I look like I'm blowing my stack? And this is after it started Monday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, no sleep. Well, very little sleep because trauma symptoms, too much adrenaline, not sleeping. So really diminished capacity. And yeah, I'm pissed and I'm tired and I'm scared, quite frankly, because it's not stopping. But you be the judge, People are not good. Science says people aren't good at telling truth from lies. People are, in fact, no better than chance on average in telling truth from lies. But I really hope that, because this is just my regular content and I've presented immigration law that backs up my version of events and the very fact that no one is under any obligation to take someone into their home if they can't afford it. Women's shelters exist. Men are up Schitt's Creek a lot of the time, but women's shelters exist. If it is truly an emergency break glass situation, that's what shelters are for, as a temporary thing until other things can be done. But somehow I got blamed for something that's happening in a U.S. state that's not even in the same time zone as me. You be the judge. I'm not even going to do the help support this channel thing. You guys know what to do. The links are in the description box below. I know most of you are on side. You understand. You believe me. This is just one. So you have the facts. So if somebody confronts you with, why are you supporting that bitch? She's this, she's that. You have the facts. For the rest of you on the fence, this is a good faith gesture. And I know there are some people that are just going to never be persuaded because a lie gets halfway around the world before the truth gets its pants on. So with that, we'll see. Thanks for watching and have a great weekend.